Orange cloth, empty bowl, dusty feet on the temple floor. You said, leave your mind at the door. Surrender everything, child, surrender more.
Sweet rice, incense, smoke, names of God on a broken tape, smiling faces round my throat, calling mercy while they watch the day.
Hare Krishna, calling your name while they held my hands and covered my face. Hare Krishna, how they twisted your grace, golden chains and a plastic halo. In your house I learned their shadow. Aisle in the hallway, whispered thin, pictures hidden where the kids all sleep. Old men laughing at the darker skin, quoting verses while the wounds run deep.
Women serve, stay small, stay sweet, walk behind, don't raise your voice. Every scripture like a sharpened key, locking hearts in somebody else's choice.
Hare Krishna, calling your name while they held my hands and covered my face. Hare Krishna, how they twisted your grace, golden chains and a plastic halo. In your house I learned their shadow. Is this bhakti or a prison yard? Are those japa beads or just a set of bars? You wore Krishna like a painted mask to hide the harm, to hide the past. I still bow to a love that's true, not the hands that bruised it blue. If God is there in every soul, He never signed their dead control.
Karma's a bitch.
Queen of Karma.
Hello, everyone, and good evening. I hope that you are all having a wonderful, wonderful day today. Tonight, we're going to be talking about ISKCON. We're going to be talking about the Hare Krishna movement, which I consider to be a cult. I have been speaking out about this cult for over a year now. I got brought to it because I was covering ISKCON, which then led me down quite the rabbit hole. And I have explained it all on my channel as well in the past and in my description right now if you would like some more information on the cult of Hare Krishna or ISKCON, then you can read the articles that I have written and you can watch Dagmar's story, which is an amazing interview that I did with somebody that experienced this cult. I also have a friend named Mike Sandoval who has been covering this cult extensively. He was in it for 20 years and he has left. And so I also get a lot of information from him and his streams. And I am Queen of Karma, Beth Gibbons. I write for Danny DeHeck on his website, on his blog. And basically, my whole gig out here on this platform is that I speak out about coercive control and I help you de-influence yourself, as they're calling it now. We used to just call it deprogramming yourself, but they've coined it de-influencing now. So, we'll use that word. And that is kind of my whole gig. I grew up with narcissistic abuse. I grew up in a cult myself. I left. I have been in domestic violence situations. And I have also even been in spiritual cults and in multi-level marketing commercial cults. And so I dedicate all of my time and energy to speaking out about all of the above. And Hare Krishna is just one of the very many cults that I've been speaking out about. And so tonight I wanted to share some stories with you that I have found, many of them coming from Reddit, and just kind of hang out. First, I just want to give a shout out to the people that I have gifted a membership to for this month. Gifted memberships this month went to John Barilla from the On Passive scam. I'm sure he's very happy about that. Also, Infallible Fowl 9809, Sharon Stone 6, Dee Dee Coleman 1077, and Chef Mako. And then today, the gifted memberships went out to Captain McNair, Chelsea McNeely, Silvio Dante 93, our Silvio, Rabid Old Bat 1403, loved the username, and then Let There Be Joy 369, which not a bad username either, by the way. So shout out to you guys. You have gotten the gifted memberships from me for this month, and I promise I forgot to do it the other day, but by the end of tonight, I will post up the link to the Discord. You can come and hang out in the Discord and have a fun time. We really just archive the MLMs and cults that I speak out about. That's all we do there. And sometimes we share a little bit about our personal lives. Like we'll be like, oh, I'm going out to the store today or something. Just chit chat stuff. But that's really all we do. So if you're looking for anything else, it will be a boring place for you. Now, without further ado, I want to get into our first story because I have eight or nine, something like that, to share with you tonight. I think it will be best if we do this in the full screen mode. So I wanted to go over this post because I think we need to start off on kind of a positive note, if you will. I did blur out all of the names of our posters for tonight. I do not feel like outing people that are either in or have just left this cult. So all of the Reddit posts, your usernames have been hidden. If you would like to reach out down below and say, hey, that one post that you read out on your stream, that was me, then I will be happy if you want to include your username in my source links But otherwise, I'm keeping you anonymous, just so you know. So here we have someone that posts up 2 books, the 2 main books that get passed out by the people in this cult. And they say, Hare Krishna books. Today, I told a panhandler to move on, and he gave these books. I thought the movement would have died out long ago. And as you can see, we have the Bhagavad Gita as it is, and then the science of self-realization. Something tells me there won't be much science in that book. But somebody commented and said, the Bhagavad Gita is actually an amazing epic. And so the poster responded and said, I don't disagree with you about the Bhagavad Gita, but Krishna consciousness, aka the Hare Krishnas, is an organization with shady history. Again, if you want to know more about the history, links are all down in the description. I have a fascination with cults, and they came up a few times in documentaries and podcasts. As they do, right? That's the thing. Sometimes I'll come across a cult that not many people are calling a cult. Now, the good news is Stephen Hassan has called Hare Krishna ISKCON a cult. He has covered it in the past, so I wasn't the first one to the party in this movement for this one, but I was for Ekankar. And I still get messages from people that are like, Ekankar is not a cult. You're crazy. And so I appreciate having other resources outside of myself to link to be like, I promise it's not just me. Look, other people are saying this too. And so I kind of like that person was like, yeah, no, they're a cult though. And I've found a lot on them. There have been several documentaries speaking out about this. So like I said, I'm not exactly, I'm kind of new to this party. Hello, Sylvia. You're welcome for your membership. So that was a good one to share. I thought that would get us off to a great start. And if you are in this, you will, and you're a male especially, you will be told to shave your head, jump on a bus, wear that orange robe, and basically go to the town and pass out those very books. Really, you're supposed to try to sell them, but I think sometimes they just try to get them into as many people's hands as possible, right? So our next post is going to be called, What's Wrong with the Hare Krishnas? And I'm like, well, again, links down below. They say, I'm newish to the free-spirited community here. And there is this odd, we don't talk about Fight Club vibe when people bring up the local Hare Krishnas. I know of them, but all I know is that they walk around downtown occasionally playing drums and singing. And I bet where you are, they do the festivals and the parades for this cult. I know they do here in Ottawa. 2 new friends, unrelated, in separate settings, have both said something. The first said, I like hearing their music, despite their reputation. Did not elaborate, and the convo moved on. Another straight up said, I won't associate with people who are in the Hare Krishna community. But neither of the 2 would say why. I was in a group setting both times, and everyone nodded in agreement, like they all knew something I didn't. I'm just curious because no one will answer. LOL. I'm agnostic myself, and I don't care what people believe in. But now I'm really curious to know why so many people don't like them, yet won't say why. So someone responded to this and said, My biggest issue I've personally encountered with them during college is that they seem to be against most Western medicine, or at least psychiatric medications. They have a similar view to Scientology, that it's all like fake hoopla, right? So I've known a couple folks who converted, generally young, vulnerable people with a history of mental illness, who they have talked into completely going off their psych meds, very dangerous for many reasons, and then do nothing to help them when they end up in the hospital having a psychotic episode. That's one of the reasons. You should never just stop taking any medication, but especially psych meds. Then once they get stabilized at the hospital, they'll go back to the group and get talked into going off their meds again. Very vicious cycle. And as someone that, I struggle with my mental health, I have CPTSD, I have ADHD, I'm autistic. There's a whole lot going on in my head. I could not go off my medication. That would not be very good. Look at the energy I have when I'm on my medication. You don't want to know what happens when I'm not on it. It's just not a good thing. And so I can't help but emphasize and sympathize with people that want to look to spirituality and religion, which I've also done in the past, by the way, to try to find some peace and calm and closure and joy in their lives. And then they end up in something like this that basically tells them, get off this medication, it's bad for you, which then causes a lot more problems. It's just not fair. So then somebody commented, and as you can see, this person's account was deleted, but they say they're against Western meds, or as you rightly pointed out, psychiatric meds, because most of the mental illnesses like anxiety and depression are curable by spiritual practice. And I'm like, yeah, see, no, that's the problem. There it is, right there. As you said, they might face these illnesses again, only at the beginning. You don't get cured. Even after spiritual practice or prayer, but the only way to overcome it is keep doing it. And that would take care of it. Now, part of the worship here is basically singing a mantra all day long, constantly praying, and then constantly serving Lord Krishna. And so, are you just supposed to do that all day instead of being on medication, and then that's supposed to cure your bipolar? That's not how that works. And then they say, this might explain why the Hare Krishnas acted the way they did, and why the patients wanted to go back. And I would argue that it's because they didn't have anywhere else to go. Because when they move into one of these, worship centers, as you would call them, I guess, basically they're isolated from all their friends and family that aren't in this organization, this movement. So, this cult. So, where else are they going to go? They're going to go back to what they consider to be home. But I really like this person that said, what the fuck? That is not a cure for anxiety or depression. Thank you. Thank you, good sir or ma'am. Whoever you are, we appreciate you. We appreciate you showing up. So at least someone did show up to be like, no, it's not really how that works, but that just goes to show you that is what they believe. Basically, you can pray the mental health away. Very dangerous, because most of the mental health issues, guys, are like a lack of a hormone, or it's like a deficiency, like a serotonin deficiency, or like it's your brain being rewired. If you have CPTSD like me, you probably have low serotonin and your brain's been completely rewired to react differently to things. Like there is no prayer that can fix that. Unfortunately, there isn't even a secret medication that you can take that like cures it. You just have to handle the symptoms of these things. But to tell people like, oh, you can just pray and then it's cured, just worship all day long and sing Hare Krishna all day long, and then you won't struggle from your schizophrenia anymore. It's like no, it's a shitty thing to tell people. Don't do that to people. The next one says, had a bad experience with Hare Krishna followers. I'm hopefully posting this in the correct subreddit. These were posted in several different subreddits. I'd rather not tell you which ones so that you don't go searching them out, I went to an Indian grocery store last night in Northern California with my family. We were quickly approached by two bald guys wearing orange robes as my wife and I were exiting the car with our two boys, who are 3 and 5 years old. So they're leaving the car, Northern California, and they have two kids under the age of 5 with them. One of them, a Caucasian man, was trying to sell religious books. The other one looked Indian. I don't know. Cool. I don't know why that has anything to do with the story at all. I don't know why we need to know someone was Caucasian and someone was Indian, but I guess for the imagery, I suppose, but thank you. They both seem to be in their 20s. Now that I do kind of want to know, because it's interesting to me how this cult, especially more recently, and this was a more recent post, by the way, they seem to be going after the younger generation a lot more. And that worries me a little bit. So it's interesting that both of them were in their 20s. I care more about the age than I do. The race means nothing. With the way they both quickly approached my family in a dim lit parking lot, I was taken aback and naturally became defensive for a moment, which I hope it had nothing to do with any of the race. But honestly, if you're walking with your family and two random guys of any kind just start approaching you, I think your first instinct is like, what do these guys want? I think that makes some sense. I'll give you that one. However, they seem polite in the beginning, especially since, then your defenses went down. You're like, okay, maybe they're nice. Shortly thereafter, because you're like, oh, okay, maybe this went well, they were insistent on me buying one of their religious books. I politely told them that I'm not interested. Then they began to ask for money, as if they were begging. And they were persistent and then somewhat aggressive. I do wish that they were a little bit more descriptive with what they mean by persistent and aggressive. You know what I mean? Did their voices get louder? Were they yelling? Was the persistence them trying to put the book in your hand? Or was it really just them being could you please give us some spare change or buy one of our books? We're starving. We've been eating nothing but rice for 7 years. What was it? That's the only thing about this story right now that's bugging me. I told them that I don't carry cash, which a lot of people don't anymore. One of them called me bogus and a liar. Okay, that's out of hand. We didn't need that now, did we? After coming home and doing some Googling, which is interesting, right? Because it's not like they approach you and they're like, hi, we're from ISKCON or we're Hare Krishnas. Not like that, right? They just say, hey, let me tell you about God. Do you want to buy one of these books and learn the true way of God? And then, you don't even know what you're agreeing to get involved with. So he says, after coming home and doing some Googling, they seem to be from Hare Krishna subsect of the Hindu religion. I think that's also what they greeted me with. So then he's like, yeah, maybe they did say Hare Krishna. Is this behavior typical, or did I have a one-off experience? I would say it's about half and half. Honestly, it's not everyone that's doing the book thing or out on the streets trying to sell stuff that's bushy, but there are several stories similar to this one. But then equally, there's just as many stories that say, you know, they came up to me, they were very nice, they asked me if I would buy their book and talked to me for a while, and I kind of felt bad, so I did, you know, like pity marketing might be a little unethical, but still, like, it's not like they yelled at them or chased them down the street with sticks or something, you know? So it's not really a one-off experience, but I wouldn't say that it is the experience either, right? Like with anything, with any religious belief out there, you're going to have fanatics and you're going to have people that are assholes, and then you're going to have some people that are really cool. With all of them, with every cult that exists. So it's kind of like a mixed bag. You know? I wouldn't say that it's the regular, though. So don't think that that's how they all are. You know, don't like get scared. If you see them on the street, no need to be scared. Most of the time, if they walk up and they ask you, you know, if you want to talk to them about Lord Krishna, or they ask you to buy a book or something, they are polite. So, you know, and if they're not, just get away from them. Just as quickly as you can. Cross the street if you have to. You know, you know how to handle public. Stay away from them, Mike says. Yeah, like, you know. But you don't have to be like rude. Like, don't go up to them and start throwing shit at them or anything. But if they do come up to you, just be like, no, I'm not interested. Thank you. And then leave. Like, we don't need to have a back and forth, you know? But most of the time, they're pretty respectful in the fact that if you're like, no, I'm not interested. No, thank you. And then you walk away, you know, they shouldn't be following you. And if they do start following you, or being an asshole to you after that, then you do have a right to be like, hey, yo, buddy, fuck off. And even call the police if it escalates, you know? Even if they are nice. Yeah, don't fall for it. Don't fall for the love bombing, Mike says. Good to see you, Mike. Glad that you can make it. So our next story is any ex-Hare Krishnas here? You know, because a lot of people leave and then they want to find community. And I think it's great. I think it's really good. I think people can heal together. They can share experiences with each other and compare notes. I think that it can be very, very good. Don't fall for it. That's right. Keep up the good work. You too, Mike. So this is somebody that came to one of these a group mainly for Hindu religion, right? Yeah, I let them know. I let them know at the beginning who you were. Don't worry, I always do when I talk about these guys. And yeah, so this was a group that was mainly for Hindu religions. And so they came in and said, are there any ex-Hare Krishnas here? What was your reason for leaving? Would you mind sharing your experience? I've been in an ashram for the last 6 months and thought that I would come to understand and overcome my initial distrust of Alex. He goes by Prabhupada, but his name is Alex, okay? He's a false prophet. Unfortunately, this is not the case. I've been on that Hare Krishna thing, which is another subreddit, a few times, and every time I do it just rings so true. I just cannot bear some of the things he has said. And the intense distinction between genders is still so glaring to me, as well as the huge pushback against other spiritual paths and knowledge. I feel it isn't right for me. However, devotees are convincing me otherwise, out of the goodness of their hearts, or just to manipulate you, either or. Is this really the only way I'll be happy? Is material life actually that awful? I want to continue meditation, of course, and I'm still seeking. One time I called someone a seeker on my stream and people thought I lost my mind. No, that's a type of person. And this person is obviously a seeker. I don't even want to go back to material life necessarily, because of course they have given up every single one of their possessions to be a part of this. I'm so confused. I mean, my heart isn't, but my mind is being influenced by trusted friends. I need some outside perspective. This is the brainwashing, exactly. Exactly. If you're an ISKCON devotee, may I respectfully request you ignore this post. I know that you will be trying to help, but I am not currently seeking convincing of the path. Thank you. So at least this person, knows that they want to hear the truth. They don't want the manipulation, but that's what people are trying to do. And the people that know them that are in this are obviously going to try to stop them from leaving. Right? So that's what we have happening here. And honestly, I cannot tell you how to be happy, but I can tell you that it probably won't take just one thing. And I think it's wrong to look to spirituality for your happiness. And especially for your entire happiness, And if you're already questioning, is material life actually that awful? I feel like, maybe you should check it out. See for yourself. Maybe there's a way for you to do the meditations and to do the yogas and not be a part of this cult and live a normal life. Because lots of people do yoga and meditation, right? And they are not in the Hare Krishna movement or any type of cult. You don't have to be a part of a spiritual movement. If you feel like meditation helps you in some way, you can find a way to do that even as an atheist, believe it or not. It's just breathing exercises when you're an atheist. You know what I mean? Like, you can find ways to do these things without that, right? And saying material life is an example of the brainwashing, right? Because it's really just life outside the cult. And it adds the connotation that the people outside of the cult, they need things to be happy, and we don't, because we just follow this Krishna, and then we're just happy all the time. The spirituality is all we need. And again, they give up everything for this, which isn't right, but it's another way that the cult keeps control over you. You have no material possessions. Right? It's easy to control you using their phraseology. That's right. They have a whole dictionary. And it's funny because it's the same dictionary that like ISKCON uses too, partially, like half of it. And same with like Radha Swami and stuff. Like, it's so funny to me, the overlap in all of these makes me laugh a bit. Just goes to show you though, because they're all cults. All right, so the next one that I have is a close friend / bandmate became Hare Krishna and left everything behind. Like we were just talking about. Has anyone had experience with friends or family getting heavily involved with the Hare Krishna group? My former best friend has all but disappeared from his previous life. Most of us haven't seen or heard from him in close to 2 years. Imagine. He will speak to us if we go to their hangout, a local restaurant they run. But he doesn't seem willing to talk about anything that isn't related to the group and has told us all we need to leave our lives behind and join them if we want to be truly happy and experience peace. And it's sad because to him, he's just trying to save his friends, right? Like they're basically told if your friends and family aren't in this, then they're not going to be truly happy. They'll never find peace. They won't get to, go to the afterlife. So people that are in cults like this, they get horrified about wanting to save their friends and family so that they can live eternally, right? With them. That's one of the good things about living forever is that you get to have your friends and family with you. They go on to say, on one hand, he seems fulfilled, but he also seems to be an entirely different person and has neglected his children according to his estranged wife. He also let his business fail and is now in incredible debt, to my understanding, with what little money he does get going back to the group. They take everything. I want to be there for him, but just don't know how. If it is only permitted in the context of joining him for prayer and song. Ruined his life. Pretty much. I mean, his business is gone. His family is gone. I mean, what else do you have if not your family? They've taken everything from him completely. It's awful. Any thoughts about what I could do to open the conversation about reflecting on these things? For the record, I'm not sure if the group itself is nefarious with different strokes for different folks and all, but I'm concerned about the future both he and his children are looking at if he stays on this path, and honestly just want my friend back, but not going to try to tell him that his new life is actively destroying things around him. I appreciate any input here, including if you think I am in the wrong for even pursuing this. You're not in the wrong. You just want to save your friend from a cult. I think anyone would want to do that, especially when they see all the destruction around him from the movement, right? They're like, what kind of movement is this? The movement to destroy your life? I think you should start off soft by just asking him questions every once in a while about his happiness and what he's doing, and like, are you happy? And maybe ask him every once in a while, like, do you miss your wife? Do you see the kids? And then slowly you can bring it up more and more with him. It's always best to kind of put it in a way so that they're the ones that are discovering it. I gotta do another video about how to keep people out of cults. The best thing you can do, though, is to ensure that he doesn't isolate and try your best to be a person that he can reach out to if he ever does leave this cult, right? You want to stay in communication with him as someone on the outside. As soon as he stops having people on the outside, he's completely isolated, and then there is no chance of getting him out. So you're not in the wrong for pursuing it, though. And somebody responded to this, and I put this separately because it's almost a story on its own in their response. And they say, it was about 30 years ago, but a friend of mine was enticed to join the Hare Krishnas. He was only 16, so he told his mom that we would go to their temple and not leave without him. We did just that. He couldn't really explain why he ended up there, but he definitely felt like he couldn't leave. Coercive control. Not so much being held against his will, but they were very coercive. A friend of ours called it flat out kidnapping. I mean, in some places, if you're under 18, yeah, it kind of would be kidnapping, wouldn't it? Especially since his mother had tried to get him out and she wasn't even able to see him. Looking back on it, I agree. And the fact that they recruit teenagers and then keep them away from their parents should really worry you, especially if you know anything about the child abuse that has gone on in this cult. Again, links down below. Or you could watch Mike, and he talks a lot about that on his channel. So that's crazy though, right? Imagine you're a parent and your 16-year-old is like, actually, I've found this amazing movement I joined. I'm going to shave my head and move in with them and only wear orange robes and eat rice and then sell these books. Like, you'd be like, what the fuck? Try to get your kid out and then your kid doesn't leave. That's what cults do. All of them have done this. A lot of the times they prey on runaways and the homeless as well. Especially homeless teens. Especially back in like the 60s and 70s and 80s. Like that's who they were preying on, was homeless teens, or teens that, you know, maybe didn't get along with their parents. Chant Hare Krishna and be happy. But where is the happiness? And that reminds me of that stream that Mike, you were doing, where they were all on the bus and they were showing the bus and they were showing everyone sitting there chanting, and every single person looks absolutely miserable the whole time until they notice the camera. And then for a split second, they like put on a show, right? And they smile while they're chanting. And then it's almost like as soon as they think that there's no camera on them, they went back to being miserable. And it just looked so awful. They prey on everyone. There is no happiness. That's right. You're going to be looking for it for a very long time. It's non-existent. So they said, note, this is not a post against any akaraya. Sorry if I said that wrong. But any of their words, or even shake someone's faith. I am a normal backed like everyone else. I'm just interested in knowing how many of you have actually felt the happiness, ananda, that comes from real bhakti yoga. The bliss of bhakti is apparently very different from regular momentary feelings of elation and disappointment. This is a state you can be in for hours and hours and forget the world, apparently. But I want to remind you all right now that this is somebody who is still in it. And that's what they mean when they say they're a normal back like everyone else. They're saying, I still believe in this. I am still practicing. I'm still here doing it all. I'm just like you guys. It's just, I'm wondering, where did the happiness go? You know? Zero. It's all cosplay. That's right. Associating with many ISKCON and non-ISKCON devotees, I personally have been unable to find anybody, or any guru for that matter, who is actually experiencing the bliss that comes from bhakti. from the state of samadhi. I chant like everyone else, but all I see around me is just the same old regular life going on. Not really the true bliss of bhakti. Just the same old life, same old problems, and no signs of Krishna or bliss. Because it's fake! Krishna says in the Gita, the book at the start of the stream that you saw, that you can have the happiness in this very lifetime and doing my sadhana. I hope to experience that soon too. So they're still hopeful. You know, they're hoping to find someone that says it exists. So far in my experience, I have heard only preachers, but not experiencers. I'd love to know what your thoughts are. Do you think that bhakti is too high of a goal that we have set and we're just stuck with the current sadhana with no real gains? Or do you think that in a few million or billions of births we'll ultimately get there? Or are you just doing it for the community and a few psychological benefits with no ultimate goal or gain? Hare Krishna. So even when you're in the movement and you are brainwashed and you're doing the yoga and the chanting and all of that, you're still in these groups asking, but where is the happiness? I'm doing all the things. I'm not experiencing that elevation. I'm not experiencing the ecstasy that I'm supposed to. And honestly, if they did go to a guru and they brought this up, they would probably just be told, well, you're not worshiping enough. You must not be chanting properly. You must not be praying hard enough. You must not be doing this and that. It always gets put back on the person instead of them admitting, like, yeah, that's because we just made this shit up. Like, everyone here is miserable, you know? They blame the victim and they say, do more chanting. Exactly. It's just like an MLM. I tell people all the time, it's the exact same hierarchy that all of these cults run on. And it's all about blaming the person and telling them that they don't believe enough, that they have to try harder, when really it's all just a facade. But it's create like this perfect cycle that keeps people coming back and coming back and coming back, paying more money so that they could experience it, you know, praying more, trying to get more devoted, right? Like that's all it is. And to me, like they are all pretty much spiritual MLMs, right? Because they all follow this exact same fucking diagram. It's all like the coaching programs. It's like, pay us more money, come and do more prayer, come and do more yoga, come chant with us more. But while you're doing it, make sure you're also giving us a lot of money or any of the money and possessions you have. And then we're going to control your life. It's like, it's ridiculous. But that just goes to show you, even in it, you're asking, but where is the happiness? Because I think it's important to show moments where even the people that are still in it are questioning. Because, again, in the movement, it's not all happy, colorful festivals and fun songs like they would want the public to believe it is, right? Yeah, and bring your friends and family. That's right. Recruit more, especially in the ones where like they're not having a million kids, like in the Mormon cult. They're like, don't use birth control and have 3,000 children, you know? So like they still recruit there, but it's not as bad. Whereas in this one, they will actively try to recruit people on the street with the books. That's like what they're doing sometimes. And I think those are the experiences that people have that tend to be more aggressive, is when they're really trying to recruit, which they always technically are, but I feel like some are worse than others. Like I said, California is bad. Stay away. So the next one that I want to read is a post that I found that says, what cultish behavior have you seen in the Hare Krishnas? And how did you readjust to normal life after and stop feeling guilty all the time after? Nothing like some religious or spiritual guilt. So after you leave the cult, even when you're just trying to live a normal life, you're still being controlled by the cult and their belief system. That is the coercive control. So in your mind, you're going, oh shit, I just ate sugar. I'm not supposed to eat sugar. And then you got to go, oh wait, no, I'm not in that anymore. and it's a whole thing. And you will actually feel guilty for doing things that the cult wouldn't normally do. You know? So they say, what cultish behavior have you seen in the Hare Krishnas? Those who have been involved with the Hare Krishnas, what cult behavior have you seen? Here's a few I've experienced. Constant guilt, self-guilt tripping, that's right. And it's because they used to guilt trip you all the time. And just like with any abuser, even when you get away from them, their voice still lives in your head for a while. And that's why I tell people, like, go to therapy. I know they tell you therapy's bad, but I promise you it's not. It can help you figure out that stuff and give you some coping mechanisms and skills so that you can stop doing that to yourself. Nothing wrong with going and seeking help for that. So, excuse me, sorry. Let's get into the cultish behavior. You are encouraged to stop working or studying except for a man when he is married. But even then, most of the married men do work reluctantly, as the highest thing is do dedicate yourself to service instead. That's right. So that is true. And here's the thing, in every cult, they have different levels of devotees. So I want to make this clear. I get a lot of comments from people that are like, I'm in ISKCON and it's wonderful. Me and my family, we go to the temple a few times a week and it's so nice. And then we go to the festivals and it's great. And I'm like, I'm sure that for you, who has somehow managed to go to this cult and be a part of it, but still manage to live in your own apartment and be with your own family the whole time, I'm sure you're having an okay time, but that doesn't take away from the experiences of the devotees that actually give their entire life up to this thing, which that's supposed to be the ultimate goal. And eventually all those people living in apartments are told that unless they give up all of everything, they actually aren't going to ever, be saved or whatever, right? And so there's different levels of devotees. So here it says, for example, that you are encouraged to stop working or studying unless you are a man who is married. And that situation is usually someone who is married with a family before they join the cult. Another example of this is with Scientology. We see this all the time. Famous people in Scientology will tell you it's a great cult because they can all still live in their mansions and do their acting jobs and get paid millions of dollars a year. And as long as they just give the church a cut of it, the church will let them do whatever the fuck they want. But if you go and ask someone in the Office of Special Affairs how it's going, right? Or you go and ask someone who's in the Sea Org and has been in the Sea Org since childhood about their experience, it's very, very different. And that's because it's almost like there's different levels of devotees, and cults keep these levels to legitimize them. It's done on purpose to trick the public so that they can say, oh yeah, that crazy person that's saying that we didn't let them eat for a week and stuff, I don't know what they're talking about because look at this famous person that's in our cult. And they'll tell you like they make millions of dollars a year and they're eating caviar. So what do you mean we're abusive? And this is just kind of an example of that, right? And like they say here, the highest thing is to dedicate yourself to service. Eventually, they ask you to give everything up. They just kind of let some people have a little bit more freedom to gain some things before they take it. That's really all it is, you know? Defending every disgusting thing the cult leader says and never questioning his teachings, worshiping him like God, drinking his foot bath water. That's a big one, isn't it? Drinking the foot bath water. It is disgusting. People think their good times cancels out the disgusting cult activities. Right. And it's funny because I also try to explain to people that had bad experiences and we'll call it a cult will still look back on some of the times as happy times. Like one time, someone came at me about talking about my child abuse as a kid, and they were like, "You said you had some good childhood memories." And I was like, "Yeah, because that was my childhood. Everyone has a few good childhood memories, and then they have a bunch of bad ones. Like, that's normal. Your experience isn't black and white. That's the thing, right? And your good experience does not erase someone else's bad experience, right? The horror, the abuse, sexism, the racism, and child marriage, right? It is disgusting that a person can enjoy themselves in a cult that is abusive to so many. Like a mafia wife saying, "I'm having a good time in the mob." Exactly. And I think for a lot of people, they really do have to practice cognitive dissonance, where they almost like ignore the bad things and believe that they aren't true in order to continue. And that's really the only way that you can. Because for most people, if they hear about abuse, that's a deal breaker. So that's why a lot of times they'll just be like, la 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 la, it never happened. I don't even know about it. They also say outside education is seen as brainwashing. Working is a waste of time, but they love to get as much as they can in donations as possible, right? They pretend they are not Hare Krishnas on university campuses and their yoga centers to try to recruit new people. No transparency, always a red flag, right? They use the love bombing technique, and then once you've signed up and committed, start treating you like crap. Mm-hmm. They hide their sordid past and present that involves child abuse, misogyny, and even murder. Which that's why I think I always tell people one of the biggest red flags is, are they rewriting their history or hiding abuses? Look for that. If they're doing that and then they're also not telling people who they are when they're recruiting, it's probably a cult. You are told how to dress, what to eat, and how to speak and think. That's right, we got the bite model. Guru is as good as God. If you scrutinize or question the authority of your guru, then you are offending him and you are shunned. And I always find this funny because in a lot of these religions, like they all say don't compare yourself to the God, but then they always do this shit. And I'm like, is that not the guru claiming that they're just as good as the God? Does that not go against that? But it seems to never go against it when it's the guru, right? If you scrutinize or question the authenticity of management or those in power, then you are offending them and you are shunned. One of them should just be, you are shunned. You are encouraged to see devotees as your friends and family. Mm-hmm. Right? If they try to replace your family and friends, red flag, and encourage you to have minimal contact with your outside friends, and family. So I tell people, don't let the person that you love in a cult lose contact with you. Even if it's just like checking in every like 6 months to be like, hey, how's it going? I'm still here, by the way. Just checking in. You doing good? All right, cool. Even if that's all you do, it's still something. It still matters. Any hobbies and interests you have that are not related to Hare Krishna is discouraged and considered a waste of time and is Maya, which we talked about in the last stream. But it means Maya means that which is not. It refers to the Supreme Person's energy of illusion, which makes us think our temporary body, which is a product of the material world, is the same as our eternal spiritual self, the Atma within the body. When we're under Maya's influence, the attractive things in this world, wealth, fame, the opposite sex, appear real and desirable to us. In other words, you're not supposed to want any money, you're not supposed to want any fame, and you're not supposed to want the opposite sex or the same sex. That's very bad. They're very homophobic as well, right? We think we should be able to enjoy and control them as we like, but really everything here is under the control of time, and none of these temporary things can bring us lasting happiness. And that's, of course, according to the cult website. That's why it's sounding very pro cult, or the phraseology is there. And Mike's like, this is giving me PTSD. And that's the thing, right? So Maya means that which is not, and basically it's everything in the material world that you don't want to be, right? So you are discouraged from anything karmi related: books, music, shows, art, dance. If you want to do anything of these things, then they must be Krishna related. Again, George Harrison from the Beatles, when he was in this cult, he was allowed to still make his music because he was famous. And then he did make a bunch of songs for them, by the way. We've talked about that. But anyone else who's in this cult, the only singing and dancing they can do is for the cult. And maybe that's why they do it so much. Because lots of people that end up in these cults like to have a creative outlet. And when you take that away from them, it kind of, like, what are they left with? They're only left with doing this, which is what the cult wants. Don't fall for it. Hide an AC/DC CD somewhere or something. Then they ask, how did you adjust back to the real world and not feel guilty all the time for doing such things as eating out at a non-Hare Krishna restaurant, or listen to non-Hare Krishna music, or read non-Hare Krishna books, etc.? A lot of positive self-talk and replacing your way of thinking. So every time that you do one of these activities, if you find yourself thinking about how you're not supposed to be doing it or feeling guilty, I need you to stop, recognize that you're feeling that, and then give yourself the permission and remind yourself that you are no longer being controlled by this cult. It can be something as easily as being like, oh man, I'm just about to eat a meal that, isn't at a Hare Krishna restaurant. I'm starting to feel really guilty, but, I'm not in this cult anymore, and I am going to enjoy this meal like it is the best meal I have ever fucking had. And then you just do it. And you try not to think about it for the rest of the time. And I promise you, if you just continuously do that every time these feelings come up, they will become less and less. They'll happen further and further apart. And eventually it's like you train your brain to do that. Your brain is a muscle. You can train it to do all kinds of really great things automatically like that. And that is your best way of doing that. And you can do it with anything that has to do with the cult. Any feelings of guilt that come up at any time about anything, the best thing you can do is redirect your mind into thinking of it in a different way, giving yourself the permission to experience life without the cult. And honestly, you could just say to yourself several times a day, I give myself permission to experience life without this cult. Like, find a sentence that's solid, that really works and speaks to you, and then have that be one that you just repeat, and talk to people about it that are on the outside. Let them know. If you're at that restaurant with friends, be like, guys, like, you wouldn't believe this, but I just felt guilty for a moment that I was about to eat this meal because, like, I'm not at a Hare Krishna restaurant. Like, I just let that go. And having the conversation might help as well. And it's good to have friends and family that can support what you're going through. And I can't really help you with many non-Hare Krishna books, but I can tell you to read some Stephen Hassan and check out Mike Sandoval's YouTube channel and hang out here when we talk about Hare Krishna. And maybe that will help. I would suggest doing that. Reach out to communities that are also people that speak out about cults and other ex-Hare Krishna people. Excuse me. And honestly, that's the best you can do, is find a good support system that knows what you're going through and can help you. And ask them, I think it's great that people are on Reddit doing posts like this and then all giving each other advice. I love that. I love that for us. So, we got one more from Reddit, and then I got another one I want to share with you that comes from a website. So, the last Reddit one is Hare Krishna is a really messed up cult. And Mike says adjusting back is difficult and can take years and years for some. Some never fully recover. It's very much like being institutionalized, right? I mean, that's what it is. Although you're institutionalized into this cult. So a lot of it is giving yourself permission to exist outside of the cult and continuously doing things that, the cult maybe doesn't agree with. And I'm not saying go out and get drunk and like start smoking and doing drugs or anything like that. But like, yeah, like eat some meat. I'd be like, fuck the cult. Or go out to those restaurants. Listen to AC/DC. I don't know, like, because they seem to really hate music, So go and buy all the bands. Maybe stay away from the Beatles, though, I'm just saying. And do the things. And put yourself in situations where you are doing other things so that you can give yourself permission and practice retraining your mind. If you just sit inside all day, that's not going to really help you. You have to kind of put yourself out there a little bit and experience life. It's like people that have PTSD, they're like, don't ever trigger someone. And I'm like, well, actually, you should be triggering yourself, but in a good environment and a supportive environment so that you can learn how to deal with them, right? Like, there's a healthy way to do that. So try to find a balance. So this person even explains to us what it is. I kind of like it. The Hare Krishna cult is a cult that hides behind curtains and free food. On the surface, it looks like love, community, and oh no, I can't see that. My thing is in the way. What just happened? And spirituality, I should have known. And spirituality, but once you're inside, it's control, shame, and abuse. We most agree. You're expected to donate as much time and money as possible. Initiation itself comes with a fee, and once you're initiated, you're pressured to give a portion of your income to the temple. It's never framed as optional. It's service and offering to Krishna. But the message is clear. Real devotion means constant financial and physical sacrifice to the institution. The demands are insane. Every initiated devotee is required to chant 16 rounds of the Hare Krishna mantra daily. That works out to 1,728 mantras every single day, no exceptions. If you miss rounds, you're shamed or told you're falling into Maya. On top of that are the bizarre purity rules, like bathing with a towel wrapped around you so you don't offend the water gods, and waking up at 4 a.m. to perform rituals like circumambulating a sacred tulsi plant, bowing down and singing to it every morning. There are also strict rules about what hand to eat with and endless restrictions on clothes, food, and sex. It's micromanagement of your entire life. It is. The community is toxic, abusive, cliquey, homophobic, fat-phobic. People gossip, tear each other down, and call it service or discipline. If you don't fit their mold, you're shamed. Child abuse is systemic. The Gurukulas were infamous for physical and sexual abuse. Kids were beaten, humiliated, and assaulted, and ISKCON leadership covered it up for decades. Survivors eventually forced lawsuits and payouts, but the organization never truly owned up. They've just shifted the PR, right? As they do. The toll is brutal. You're conditioned to hate yourself, fear karma and offenses, and constantly feel guilty. You're told you'll never be good enough without total surrender. When you leave, you lose your entire social world and identity, left to rebuild from scratch while they keep luring in new people with free food and chanting in the park. Hare Krishna isn't quirky hippies chanting. It's decades of child abuse, financial corruption, toxic community culture, cult manipulation, and suffocating ritual demands. And they're still recruiting today. They're still recruiting right now. Please use this knowledge to remind yourself and those you love that Hare Krishna is not safe. It is a dangerous, thought-controlling cult, and you will most definitely be happier living your life your way and not wasting it in this terrible religious institution. Life gets so much better when you leave. Happiness begins when the mind control and thought policing ends. Wishing everyone reading this well in their journey away from the cult of Hare Krishna. Mike says 100%. That's right. And that is an experience, like I keep hearing that over and over and over again. And for me, it's very apparent that something is a cult when several different people that all live in different parts of the world, none of them know each other, but they're all telling me the exact same story over and over and over again. Or I'm reading the exact same story over and over and over again. We all know I love me and my pattern recognition. And all of them are so similar. All of the mantras and the chanting and the stuff about food and about only some people being allowed to be married, and then other people have like almost like arranged marriages. Like all of it is across the board, which tells me it's not just like one temple that's having problems and their guru sucks. It's a systemic issue. It's an issue with how this thing is run and who the leaders are and what it believes in. Right? It's not just a few bad apples, as I keep saying. People keep going, oh, there's always a few bad apples. Yeah, you're right. That exists too, but that's not what the main issue is here. It's a systemic issue. It's an issue with the hierarchy. It's an issue with how the belief system And all of that plays into each other and then creates a toxic environment to the point where it almost doesn't matter what guru you have, it's all going to end up the same. Because it all comes down to, again, the teachings and the belief system. If you believe women don't deserve rights, you're going to treat your women like shit throughout the whole movement, right? If you think Hitler's an awesome guy, you're probably going to be a racist piece of shit, and so is your movement. You know? If you think everyone should just be working for you and then handing over all their material possessions, and that's literally like written in as how you serve God properly, right? Then everyone's going to experience the coercive control. You know? It's literally a systemic issue. And that's why I say, like, this hierarchy and the way that these things run, it creates that. Doesn't matter who the leader is, doesn't matter what cult it is, they all the same. They all the same. But something a little bit less depressing to end off with. I want to share this. This is just then and now. 13 years after leaving ISKCON. And it was written by Nori Muster, July 30th, 2001. I just thought it would be important to share at the end of this here. In 1978, when I was 22 years old, I decided to join the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, ISKCON, and dedicate my life to the organization. Over the next 10 years, I lived and worked in ISKCON as a Hare Krishna devotee. Finally, in 1988, I resigned my position as associate editor of their newsletter, ISKCON World Review, and left. It has now been 13 years of learning and recovery, including publishing a book about my experiences, Betrayal of the Spirit. There's a book you can get. This essay will explain some of the major hurdles and lingering effects of my fateful decision. Organization of bad vibes. One of the most insidious teachings of ISKCON is that you must give up your previous material life and devote 100% of your time and energy to the group. At ISKCON's request, I abandoned all my friends and family without thinking about how it would hurt them or make them worry about me. When my book came out, relatives and friends of other Hare Krishna devotees have contacted me for advice. Listening to their grief made me realize how my own family may have felt. It has been a struggle to reclaim some of my roots. I also found that once cut off, some relationships never grow back. It has been difficult for me to face this consequence. Like many other members, I believe that the organization had the answer and everyone else was in the dark. I tried to force my group's beliefs and values on other people. ISKCON preachers tell members and others to accept their whole philosophy and reject any other philosophy. They forbid members from reading outside literature for fear that they would be influenced by opposing philosophies. I now recognize this as a disrespectful and fanatical attitude meant to control members. I also got a few people to join, and I've apologized to a few of them. When I met devotees in 1977, the original guru, Srila Prabhupada, died. Some say he was murdered. This led to a power struggle with ISKCON, as the alleged guru killers quickly assumed the mantle of leadership and then mounted a tremendous campaign to hold on to their power. Living inside an institution like this, which was based on a lie, took its toll. During the years I was a member, 90% of the original members left. I'm just glad they left. Looking back now, I see that the 11 gurus, the alleged murderers, were highly motivated to make their own disciples stay. They manipulated us with warnings about the karmi, non-devotee, world, and told us that if we blooped, left the organization, we would go to hell. They told us that before taking initiation, we were dogs and that we would go back to being dogs if we left. The gurus told horror stories about other bloop devotees, meant to scare us into staying. Insiders told nasty jokes about ex-members and make fun of them behind their backs. Gurus as thugs, called kshatriyas, beat people up to maintain order. In 1986, the year I was born, a devotee thug killed a man in Los Angeles for speaking against the gurus. I developed some of the same bad qualities that the gurus and their followers exhibited. Financial abuses were rampant in ISKCON, and I committed several financial abuses myself. I also learned to be judgmental and superstitious. Character flaws I'm still trying to unlearn 13 years after the fact. The group was extremely chauvinistic toward women, minorities, and anyone who disagreed with them. It's been a struggle to get my real personality back, because before joining ISKCON, I was open-minded and much more gentle. I went through a long phase of hating myself for staying in a group like that. It has been 10 years of psychotherapy to overcome my guilt and forgive myself. Wow. Imagine 10 years. 10 years of psychotherapy to overcome guilt and forgive yourself. I'm still working out my victimization issues because I came to ISKCON innocently seeking spiritual life and became a cog in the wheels of a dysfunctional system. I agonize over how my common sense to leave a bad situation failed me. It was codependency, pure and simple. I think naming it really helps as well in your healing. Eventually, you do learn to forgive yourself. Conclusions. Living with the betrayal. I tried being a fringe member for a few years. I even went back for a time to try to help the children of the organization. Then in the late 1990s, I came to the conclusion that I couldn't fix ISKCON any more than someone can fix their own dysfunctional family of origin. I had to leave completely to restore my own soul. It has now been 3 years since I visited an ISKCON property or attended any of their functions. Sometimes I meet people who only remember the Hare Krishnas as good old days in the 60s. When I tell them about my book, they are shocked to find out about the things that went wrong in the group. Most people probably wish that the Hare Krishnas had remained as innocent and carefree as they appeared in the 60s. I do too, but I've had to live with the reality that even the Hare Krishnas became corrupt. In regards to betrayal of the spirit, some ISKCON followers show their hatred of my book by writing negative comments about it at Amazon.com or showing up to argue with me at book signings, etc. Which, again, defending the cult, very big thing, always happens. I find their attitudes hypocritical since most of them have never even read it. I find after Dagmar shared the story on my channel too, I got a couple comments and I could tell they didn't even watch the video. They were just there to be like, ISKCON is great and you're wrong. And it was like, okay, but did you actually watch what she said, you know? Devotees who actually read it usually like it. Many have given me positive feedback. One of my objectives was to tell the collective story in a loving way. I think insiders tend to exaggerate what I may have written, based on their own fear of ISKCON secrets. I've told them that my book is my offering, written from my heart. Still, the critics refuse to read it, and that's okay, because it should come in handy in future for anyone leaving. And that is 13 years after leaving ISKCON. I'll leave the link to that, actually, because I don't think I have it in the description. So I'll put the link to that in the chat right now. It's probably already showed up there by the time you hear me say that. So you can go and support. And they tell more about their story if that's something that you're interested in doing. That's all I have for you guys tonight. I wanted to come on here and share these stories because I think that it gives us a really good roundabout look at what people experience when they're in this. And one of the interviews that I had set up that I was going to do, the person ended up falling through because they accidentally told someone that they were going to do an interview. And that person's family and friend basically convinced them, since they're all in ISKCON, that it would be a bad idea to do the interview. And I told them, don't worry about it for right now. I don't want you to do anything that can put you as a target or anything like that. Because again, this is a dangerous cult and it has been dangerous in the past. But there are several stories, you know, that aren't as triggering, I would hope, that you can kind of share, you know, with anyone in case anyone you know is getting caught up in this thing, or someone gets a hold of you one day and says, hey, you want to go to the Hare Krishna ISKCON festival? It's going on downtown. Let's go check it out. You can say, no, watch this. Thank you for coming and hanging out with me tonight. There will be a Friday tomorrow where we talk about the On-Passive cult, which is a multi-level marketing scheme that turned into a cult of personality right before our eyes, and we covered the entire thing as it happened. So it's been great fun. I mean, as fun as it can be, you know. I try to make it comedic and fun. So I hope to see a lot of you tomorrow for Friday with the Stayers of Nay. But that's all I got for you guys tonight. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening. Make sure you like and hype this up. Get it in the algorithm because more people need to be aware that this is a cult and a dangerous one with quite the history that is still recruiting today. Thank you so much, everyone. I love all of you. Stay safe. See you tomorrow. Bye. Please do like the video and subscribe if you are new here. I love it if you join our Facebook members, all of the beautiful people do, and you don't want to be an ugly bitch like me. So hit that join button, and I will see you all real soon with another one. I love you. Thank you so much for being here. Bye-bye.